So first of all, thank you very much for that. How do you feel? Are the nerves settled down after seeing it on the big screen?
Yeah.
Certainly I could tell just from the buzz around me as I sat and watched that. The first time I had seen it with a communal audience, that people really enjoyed it. I guess we can start off with the simplest question. Now, I will open for questions from the floor as well, folks. But if we start off with the simplest one, how did you come across the Buchanans?
I think this is going to be the favourite question, this one. I was rung up by an organisation that the Buchanans were involved in a publicity agency called Strike, who were promoting the Buchanan story about Mike becoming chief. And I think the agency felt there was a lot more to the story than met the eye, and not only that there was a great appeal internationally, and they were just looking for somebody to see if they were interested in making a documentary, and somebody rang me up. So I thought, right, well, I'll go up and see them, curious. and I went up to meet the family, and it started rolling on from there.
And obviously there's a lot of historical context in the documentary, but a lot of the film's about the characters as well. Did you go in knowing that what you wanted to do was find an amalgamation of both? Or was it actually once you met the family that kind of shone through?
Yeah, it's a funny process really, because from the first meeting I was a little bit sceptical, because it's not, I think in Scotland it's quite a familiar story that a new chief is discovered or finds out that they could be linked and they go through a process of verification and become the chief. But so I felt that was a familiar story that had already been told in Scotland. So I was looking for something more. And you know, obviously the family was full of life. I mean, Paula especially was just really mad keen on where is she? On getting the story out, and that is quite infectious. So I was quite interested in that, and then, you know, but it was when Paula especially started explaining what they were going to do at the ceremony, I just started to think, oh, there's some layers in this, or there's something, you know, there's something more going on about history and how it's created. And it started developing from there. And especially when Paula sent me some photocopies from that book that we see her looking at in the film, and it described the old ceremony of the chief in 300 years ago. You know, that he gets led to a stone and he sits down in a white robe. And I thought, hang on, the family are planning a bit more than this. And it just starts becoming interesting. And it was when we went to sorry, I'm going on, but it was when we went to America, just speculatively, through the help of Screen Scotland, to just investigate what was going on, that we suddenly realised there was a whole world out there of Americans who, like, deeply felt something for Scotland, and knowing that we here sometimes laugh at all of that and just think, oh my God, they're all crazy, and they all wear 4 different kinds of tartan, and nobody really knows what the history is. But it just something, you know, that's where we met Pedro for the first time, and thought, you know, there's something more going on than just...
And what a find Pedro was.
Yes.
What a find he made.
Just even the name. And then when he started talking about his DNA, 33.8% Scottish, it was quite touching.
And I'm right in believing a lot of your works previously has all been in television. Did you know you were getting into this, making a full-length feature, like for cinemas, or was it more as the story came out?
Yeah, really, yeah, because I usually do work in telly. I mean, in the past I've had stuff in cinemas, but I've got into the television mould, and it was BBC Scotland that were first interested in commissioning just a 1 hour. But as we got into the story, we thought, you know, there's a lot more going on, especially when we met the characters from Mexico and the Americans, really, and we knew that those storylines could deepen the story and bring in another theme, which Pedro brings out. Well, both of them, the sisters, the American sisters, they bring that. I mean, I grew to love them because they were just really sincere and heartfelt. You know, it might sound a bit schmaltzy. I'd be quite interested to know if people thought they were believable or schmaltzy, but they really believed it. They really were touched because, like they said, it reminded them of their dad. And then Pedro was convinced that the genes 6 generations before were distilling genes, and that's why he was so interested in distilling mezcal, because he felt it was something in his Scottish genes that made him a distiller from the whiskey distillers in the 16th century, whatever it was.
I remember the first time I watched the film, there was one point with Pedro where I actually thought he was going to try and overturn Mike as the clan chief.
Well, that was just again, that just was totally revealed as we were shooting the scene in his dining table in Mexico. He just brought out all these pictures of this book, and he started tracing it down, and he said, "And look, I've got a direct line to the chief." And we thought that's his claim to the throne, but he never seriously considered, you know, he just totally believes that Mike should be chief of the clan, like he says in the film. But it was, yeah, Pedro had a rival claim. But a lot of people apparently did have a rival claim. And it was, again, you know, you're just making a feature film, you can't put everything in it, but there's a whole bigger story behind about how Mike actually became chief. You know, and they brought the genealogist in, Hugh Pescott, that was mentioned. But he was the man that discovered Ronald Reagan's ancestors in Ireland. So he was the business. And he went back 13 generations, or I can't remember the details, but he went back a long way to prove. And on the way there was lots of fake trails and forgeries and, you know, dodgy documents that he had to sift through to prove that Mike had the correct line. And also, just to say that, you know, there was an added romance to the whole thing because apparently he was a Buchanan as well. And it was in the papers when Mike first became chief that he promised his dying mother or grandmother that he would find the Buchanan chief, because the Buchanans hadn't had a chief for 300 years. So he made that promise to his grandmother.
Oh, wow.
It's quite a nice story.
Before opening up the floor to questions, people may have noticed we have an additional seat here this evening. So we'd like to invite a special guest up for the Q&A, if Lady Paula would like to join us. A lot of the Buchanan family here. There's Paul and Mike's here, and Lucy and Bruce and Rory are also here tonight. So Paula, the first thing I'd like to ask you is, Mike forgiven you or forgiven the bank balances yet?
No comment. I know, sorry, how do I expect this?
You should just be on.
I should, right. Yeah, no, it was rather expensive, this event, but, you know, there hasn't been a chief for so many years, and it was we're such a large clan, with the 6th biggest around the world in numbers. There's actually a Buchanan in every single country in the world. I mean, in every single little island. I mean, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. So we had to do something after all this time, and we're lucky enough to have still a place in Scotland and the history. So we had to do something. We had to do it. We didn't have a choice, really. We did do something. And thanks to Barbara, you're kind of bringing it to everyone, and thanks to you, you're showing it to everyone. And it's showing what our life is now, part of our lives now, which is really precious to have that, as you know, on record, and show the world, which is, we never knew about it at all. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought everyone, so many people in America and around the world are so passionate about Scottish issues. So we're just really kind of humbled by that, and we're just trying to do the best we can, really.
What I'd like to do then is throw open to the floor for any questions. Folks, we do have our roving mic, so just to make sure anybody can hear you, if you could wait for the mic coming to you, that'd be great. So, Kerr, we've got a question just down here on the end of the row.
A question for Barbara. Both of us know, Barbara, that one of the criteria for the success of a documentary is gaining good access to your subjects. Clearly, you actually succeeded in gaining good access, and sort of some good relationships were established. Can you say a little about the process of establishing these relationships, and were there any sort of no-go areas, were there certain sort of situations that were off limits to you?
You know, as in any relationship, I think we circled around each other quite a lot at the beginning. But you know, you know, trust has to develop, and that develops through time as you work together. And I think Paula had a few dodgy moments, but you know, we both agreed that you know, I just think we I don't know if it would put it into words, but it did, yeah. But I think we negotiated all the dodgy moments, and also, I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, just Paula and the family were just really up for it. You know, they I think they saw the potential that it was a legacy project, and it was an unusual subject to discuss in Scotland because, you know, clans, a subject like the story of a clan is usually a historical story, and this was it looked at the history but through a contemporary lens and through a contemporary story, which was the inauguration of the chief. You know, obviously because of that contemporary storyline, we could go into a lot of the history, and you know, find out that Walter Scott, we could tell the Walter Scott story because Walter Scott visited the house, and we could talk about how he invented a romantic image of Scotland that spread all around the world, you know, and, you know, just how history works, basically. So I think we just developed trust, basically. And I think Paula saw the potential, and the whole family saw the potential for a historical project for the clan. And I just thought it would make a really good film because there was just so many interesting people in it, and an interesting world that you don't normally go into in a modern Scotland. It still exists.
And many of the people who are here in the audience who actually made the chair and the outfits, and they're all here. So thank you very much indeed for doing that. I really, really appreciated it. You know, without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to do it, and to kind of create something that's new and contemporary, but honouring the past, but just moving it a bit forward. I mean, because many clans, they've had the chiefship for many years, and things have it's pretty the same, but we just wanted to have this opportunity as a relatively, although we're a historic clan, we've been there for, oh gosh, many centuries, but we wanted to have this opportunity to kind of re-look at it again and the situation has changed, and now most of us are abroad, so it's just trying to see what the issues are, and try and see what the people abroad are wanting, and trying to support that, really.
Great. Kerr, just over here. Thanks.
Hi. I'm a Watson, so I'm part of the Buchanan clan. I've just got a quick question for the director. Your subtitle is How History's Made Up. Why didn't you interview a historian?
Because it didn't fit in with the narrative. Just straightforward. It wasn't one of those films. It was an observational style film to follow the story of the family, and what sense they made of what they were doing. So it wasn't, there's a lot in the study. I'm glad you asked the question. It's because in the study of history, we know there's lots of truths, isn't there? And so this one, and I think the Professor, if anybody spoke from that side of it, you know, objectively about what was going on, it was Professor Alison Lumsden, kind of trying to put it into a context that the Buchanans were making their history today, as people have done before them, you know. So that's why we didn't ask a historian, because we knew there was no really such thing as truth in the telling of history. It depends on your point of view.
I'm a historian, so I'm going to disagree on that.
I bet you will. I bet you will. But that's, you know, that's why that's what I found interesting in making the film. I'm really keen to find out what historians, professional historians, think of it as well. But we had to basically follow an editorial line that was, we are choosing to tell this story through the point of view of Paula Buchanan. And you might have noticed in the film, you know, you have to get a focus to make it have any sense to anybody, or to make more of a compelling storyline. And then where we met other characters, it was mainly through Paula here in Scotland. And when we met characters abroad, we'd sort of met them through the Highland Games. So they were the only external characters, if you like, that weren't in the Paula storyline. Sorry for talking about you like this. But that was what was going on. Yeah, it wasn't that kind of documentary where, you know, various experts in history kind of say, oh no, that wasn't, no, that was, oh, you know, we didn't try and present that balanced view. It was point of view film.
I really enjoyed the bit of Petra. I thought he was the heart of the whole doctor. And I've looked into him.
Well, yeah. Hopefully we'll get into Scotland again.
Pedro know about his fan club over here.
He seems to have one everywhere.
Kev, we've got another question just in the middle here.
One of the delights of the film, and it brings kind of contemporary voices, are the artisans. And I just wanted to know whether you thought of that at the start, or is that something that evolved as you made the film?
Thank you, Claire, for that question. No, right at the very beginning. That was the potential I did see, because Paula was completely upfront. You know, here was Paula describing the white rod and the headwear and the robe, and yet commissioning a stone throne and a coronet and, you know, a beautiful mace-like white rod. And I just thought that's, again, so interesting, because it's like, you know, yes, complete reinvention from what happened in the, whatever, 300 years ago, but at the same time, it was giving opportunities for the amazing craftspeople in Scotland to get a chance at doing something really, really beautiful. That's why we took all the works, like, seriously. That Adam's here tonight that made the stone throne. Somewhere at the back there. Beautiful job. And his brother carved it a bit as well, and, you know, and that was his dad. The brother and the dad, they were all carrying it out of the house in that last scene. And the tartan, the pink, the tartan. Ewan is here. Yeah, Ewan's here tonight, and Lorna, who was one of the girls in the sewing room, who made the, you know, the lovely jackets and all of the lovely tartan. You know, I mean, yes, we did have a laugh with the pink tartan, Lucy. Sorry. I told her that, you know, that it was going to start off a bit awkward, but she was redeemed in the end, because it was really a great, you know, it really turned out well, that pink tartan. I hope, don't know if people agree with that, but
yes, absolutely.
You know, I mean, and that is just a modern interpretation of tartan, and, you know,
Yeah.
bring it on.
Yeah.
So it was. I just thought there was real potential there but the relationship's different. You know, in the past, it was, you know, the big house and the people doing the jobs for the wealthy family. But in this case, it was still the same sort of thing. But if you don't mind me saying this, Paula, there was kind of no deference there at all, because Paula and Mike are not like that at all. And also, Adam is quite cheeky, and so is Lorna. Everybody was like cheeky in their own way. So I really enjoyed that. I don't know if people picked up that layer, but that was sort of deliberately done. That's why, you know, when we kept naming everything and how expensive it was, I had to say to Paula and Mike, look, people are going to be quite curious, so you have to kind of take that one on the chin. And then when Richard's talking about access, I mean, that was the trust we had, I hope, Paula, that, you know, we could, you know, look at quite serious things in quite a light-hearted way.
I think just building off that as well, because it's wonderful to see that some of those artisans are from incredibly local areas to ourselves as well. Paula, how much did it mean to you to be able to commission works like that don't come along every day for those people?
Well, that's why people were commissioned locally, and we wanted to have Scottish artisans to produce all these different items. And I mean, Adam's on our doorstep, and all the other different people who, Ewan is very close in Glasgow, but it's their interpret. They're artists. You're an artist, and it's your interpretation of what the chair should be. And you know, we kind of, that's your role to do that, and we really appreciated that. So it was, yeah, it was really important to us to have local artisans to do that, because it made it much more authentic to us, and they can show their talent. Yeah, so that was important to us.
Was it the stones in the coronet came from the quarry?
Yeah, it's cheaper as well. It's cheaper, Mike, isn't it? No, so some of the stones came locally. Actually, I found some of the stones actually in our garden. But some of the stones we had to buy, but it wasn't expensive at all. But yeah, it was trying to keep it authentic, trying to keep it local. And so there are local stones and local other things. So yeah, we did our best.
Great. Just there. Yeah, okay.
The sense for me, the through line of the whole film actually was about community and connection. And there was I think you could look at it with a cynical eye, or you could look at it about people's desire to connect with each other, and you created an opportunity for that. So yeah, I don't know if I have a question, but I think we don't do it enough.
I think you're right. I mean, when we were filming this, it was meant to be the inauguration, it was meant to be before lockdown, and then lockdown happened, and then that threw everyone. But actually, what it had done, we'd actually established a wonderful community throughout the world, in Australia, New Zealand, America, and Canada, and it really helped me personally get through it all, because every day I was talking to someone from abroad, and they were talking to me, and there was a real community kind of with fellow Scots from all over the world, and that was really lovely, and I think that's something I never really understood before with clowns. Because here there are castles everywhere. There's clowns everywhere. But abroad, it's a big thing, and they wanted that. They wanted that kind of connection, and so we've gained a huge international world family, which is just absolutely marvellous. And we're trying to kind of do our best to kind of give back to them, as well as they're giving us, a lot. So we're trying to do our best to try and to help them, really, to kind of communicate with them.
That's translated into real life, which is marvellous, really. But for the film, Pedro was a gift, because he just embodied all of those things you're saying, and so it was just like, that's why we spent time with him, and that's why we went back to Mexico to to film with him for the build-up of the inauguration. It just sort of deepened, in the film narrative, it deepened the narrative because that was deliberate, you know, to show him with that community making the mezcal. It wasn't just about making mezcal, it was a whole community thing. And it was a joy for me, and I mean, that was the best bit. Because I wanted to say that, you know, that we might laugh at Americans wearing 4 different kinds of tartan, but it's deeply, deeply felt, and he articulated that, and you just felt it. I mean, he was in tears half the time, but we couldn't show too much of that because it just wouldn't have come over properly. But yeah. So that was another underlying theme and layer. Then that really connected with the American audience, actually, didn't it? Yeah.
I think we've got just about enough time for one last question, folks. Okay, I'll do 2 since there's 2 hands up. Here, if we can go here, and then we're just a little bit further over.
Thank you very much indeed. I just wanted to make just 3 points building on that. First of all, what a wonderfully shot and a wonderful piece of film to watch and listen and experience. So I think, first of all, bravo. Secondly, just building on the comments regarding clans and what it means around the world, the New Hampshire Games, which you showed, has 40,000 people attend. That's 2.5 times the size of Braemar. And so I think what this documentary also does, and the importance it holds, we probably haven't realised quite yet, is over the last 100 years there's been a lot of chiefships re-established, but this is the first one, and so far the only one that's been filmed in such great detail. And over the next 10 years there will be about another 9 or 10 chiefships re-established, but this is such a open-door personal access experience for our culture, not just the legal process or the fun and stress at times that the Buchanan family experience, but it's a hugely important cultural moment, I think this documentary is, and we realise that in this room, and I think we will continue to in the years ahead. And just to say also, for those of us men who carry the Scottish name, how important our choice of wives are, because Paula, I think you're clearly a driving force behind all that. So on behalf of clan culture, to you, Madam the Director, and all the team involved, thank you, because this film will be a great asset, shining light and giving volume to this wonderful part of our culture that I wish we were more proud of. Certainly they are around the world, and this might help give us a kick in the rear to make a noise about this more, because it's a wonderful piece of work and of culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
On that final question, just to keep you running, Care, back and forward.
Mine is just really a PS to what the last speaker just said. Firstly, I just thought you had the most amazing cast of characters. And I just wanted to say, bravo the sisters from America, because I think we all did love them. I thought they were so sincere at the end. And you've got a star in Paula, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Dill. I thought you were going to say something really cutting. In contrast, but that's it. No, those sisters, when they turned up with their little Aaron Cardis for the inauguration, I just loved them. Loved them. Yeah, it's the characters that make documentaries, isn't it? Yeah. It really is.
So, we'll round up for tonight. I generally always finish my Q&As the same way. I think most people who do this do the same thing. But as I have 2 guests up here tonight, this might be the first time I've ever asked this question. So, first off, the normal question for yourself, Barbara, is in what's next for the film and where's it going? And then Paula, what's next for the clan?
Well, what we're hoping, we're hoping to take the film on the road around Scotland. Oh, here. We're hoping to take the film on the road around Scotland in the spring. So, and we're hoping to get some money to do that, and that means it'll be going to places like Aberdeen, Inverness, community halls, borders, you know, all around Scotland, with special Q&A events. That's one thing, and then we'll just see how it goes internationally from that as well.
Well, we're really kind of building on what we've done. We're working more closely, we're very closely with all the diaspora abroad, all the Buchanans abroad. Possibly Tartan Weeks in
Oh,
America,
yes, that's
New
true.
York Tartan Weeks.
We might get to Tartan Week.
Yep, that's
The
the
screen.
potential. But it's really just kind of building on what we've done and just moving things on, supporting other chiefs or other chiefly claims and other situations. So it's just, we just find ourselves getting deeper and deeper into this world, which we never knew it really existed before. And just kind of supporting the clan in different respects, really. So that's really what it's all about for us.
Fantastic. Well, I think I speak for pretty much everyone in the room when I say it's been an absolute pleasure having you here tonight, having the UK premiere of Meet the Buchanans, and I wish both the film and the clan all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.